Good day, everyone. Today we are going to continue our discussion on drying and dehydration of your fruits and vegetables. Again, these are the different topics for this discussion. And last meeting, I have given you a short quiz about the reasons why do we need to dry foods, okay? So again, you have mentioned there that we need to dry foods to extend the shelf life, to make the fruits and vegetables available the whole year round. Okay, and we have also discussed that we need to dry foods to basically remove the water and to reduce the moisture content of your fruits and vegetables. Again, last meeting we have discussed the reasons why do we need to dry foods. Again, we need to dry foods basically to prevent spoilage after harvest and also to store the commodities in longer period. Okay. Again, when we dry foods, we remove the water as well as reduce its moisture content. So last meeting, we have also differentiated what is drying and dehydration. Okay. Again, your drying involves both heat and mass transfer. Okay. And dehydration as well involves heat and mass transfer, but dehydration is somewhat continuous in comparison to your drying process. So we have here a table showing to you the definition of both drying and dehydration as well as the byproducts and the process of dehydration and your drying. So drying again, it requires a simple method of moisture removal and it is a natural process. So one example of your drying is sun drying. And dehydration is again, it uses more sophisticated equipment. In particular, your dehydration basically has controlled method of removing moisture. Okay. So drying is a natural process and dehydration is an artificial process. So when you dry, you don't have control over any climatic condition. In particular, you don't have any control with the temperature as well as the relative humidity when you dry your food product. For example, during sun drying, so you don't have any control of any climatic condition in your food product. In comparison, for dehydration, basically, the condition is controlled because you are using a specific equipment, okay? And drying takes more time and dehydration takes less time because again dehydration uses an artificial process where you can control the different conditions in your drying process. Okay, so drying, since you cannot control any climatic condition, thus dried products basically don't have good quality in comparison to your dehydrated product, which are dried in a controlled environment. Okay, last meeting as well, we have discussed to you the difference between your water activity as well as your moisture content. So again, water activity, this is related to the amount of free water in a sample or related to the amount of water that is for your for your microorganism to grow. Okay. For moisture content, it is the amount of your bound water as well as your free water in a sample. So a bound water can be either attached to a bigger molecule such as your carbohydrate or your protein. Okay, so that is for your bound water. So we have here the general characteristics of dehydration, and then last meeting we have also discussed to you again the difference of your free water and your bound water. So after discussing the difference between your drying and dehydration, now we will discuss the principles behind dehydration process. So given the different properties of your dehydration, we have here the different benefits of a dehydrated product. Okay, so when fruits and vegetables are dehydrated, basically they have a longer shelf life and thus longer storage life in comparison to your dried products. Your dehydrated fruits and vegetables, they have also smaller size and weight because you basically slice the fruit and vegetables to increase its surface area. So increasing the surface area again will increase the rate of the drying process. And last benefit is for your is convenient. So again, your dehydrated fruits and vegetables in comparison to fresh produce, they are more convenient because of their smaller size as well as weight. When you prepare fruits and vegetables for drying, so these are the important things you need to consider, okay? You need to first consider your raw material, in which your raw material must have a good quality. Okay, so those defects that are present in your commodity must be removed, or you must not select those produce that are basically has a lot of defects or damages. So again, when you select fruit or vegetable for drying, you need to select the best quality of raw material. Then after selecting the best quality of the raw material, you need to clean the raw materials either with a chlorine solution. Okay, so in cleaning also as well, you other process includes brushing, okay, and grading of your raw materials. So after cleaning of your fruits and vegetables, you then again slice the commodity into thin pieces as described by the manufacturer. So you need to follow the specific dimension of your fruits and vegetables that you need to dry. Again, this will enable you to speed up the drying process, because when you slice the fruits and vegetables, they will have a higher surface area in which they can contribute to faster drying process. Okay, so after discussing the difference between your drying and your dehydration, as well as the pre-operation treatments, or sorry, the things that you need to do before you select a raw material. Now we will discuss the different pre-treatments that are applied in your raw material. So these pre-treatments again are basically done in your fruit and vegetables before they are dried or dehydrated. So pre-treatment is important before drying because it retains more fat-soluble vitamins and flavors. So when you apply pre-treatment, you basically retain those fat-soluble vitamins such as your vitamin A, D, E, and K. Okay, and basically you retain some flavors as well. Okay. During pre-treatment, it is also important for your it is also an important process because it provides lesser enzymatic browning as well as reduced deterioration of your fruits and vegetables during storage. Okay, so what are the different pre-treatment methods we apply to your fruits and vegetables? So we have here your sulfiting, sulfuring, and blanching. Okay, so now let's discuss the difference between your sulfiting and sulfuring. Okay, so for sulfiting, basically after selection of the good quality and you disregard the those produce that has defects, basically you clean the raw material, and then after cleaning you apply you pre-treated your fruits and vegetables following the sulfiting method. So sulfiting method is where you soak the commodities in a solution containing water and sodium metabisulfite. So others also use sodium bisulfite. Okay. So we also have here another pre-treatment method, which is your sulfuring. So during sulfuring, you basically place the produce in on a large tray that are stuck together and covered. Okay, and sulfuring uses your sulfur dioxide gas. Okay. So what is the purpose of sulfuring? So sulfuring will maintain the original shape of your fruit and vegetable as well as maintain the color of the commodity during your drying process. So for sulfuring, it will not affect vitamins A and C during your drying process, and it will inhibit mold growth during your storage. So for sodium metabisulfite bisulfite as well as sodium bisulfite and also your sulfur dioxide gas, so basically the amount that you add to your produce before drying are regulated by the Philippines Food and Drugs Administration. So there is a maximum amount or limit that you add to your produce for them to be basically safe for human consumption. So after discussing the different pre-treatment methods, I forgot to mention about blanching. So again, blanching can be done as a pre-treatment method for the surface microorganisms to be destroyed in your fruit and vegetable, as well as to inhibit the enzymatic reactions within your fruit and vegetable. So again, when you blanch the food product, you just soak the commodities in warm water, basically 60 to 80 degrees Celsius, and after soaking your produce in a warm water, you remove it and then you either soak it in a cold water or running water. So basically you thermally apply hot treatment and immediately cool down, cool shock your microorganism for them to really be deactivated or inhibited. Okay, so that is for your blanching, which is another pre-treatment method. So we have here the different mechanism of drying and dehydration. So all methods of drying involves two simultaneous process. So the first process is getting heat into the food. Okay, so there is heat transfer between your surrounding environment. For example, for your machine, there is heat transfer between the outside environment into the food. Okay, so following that, there is a simultaneous process of getting the water out of the food. Okay, so when you get the water out of the food, there is mass transfer. So in drying, basically, there is both heat and mass transfer that is happening in your commodity. So it is important to complete the drying process in the shortest possible time to maximize the drying rate. Okay, so while minimizing losses in desirable product characteristics such as color, flavor, and nutritional value. Again, because when you dry your food products, basically you expect that there is loss in the characteristics of your commodity. In particular, there will be changes in the color as well as the changes in flavor, and there will be significant changes in nutritional value. So that is why the drying process must be conducted, must be done in short time to maximize the drying rate and as well as to minimize the different losses in your commodity. So now we have here the different stages of drying. So the first stage of drying process is the constant rate period. So during this stage, water is evaporated from what is effectively a free water surface. Okay, so the rate of removal of water can be related to the rate of heat transfer. So whatever the water is removed in your food product, it is also related to the rate of heat transfer from your outside condition to the product itself. Okay, so the rate of removal of water is also proportional to the rate of mass transfer from the solid to the surrounding air. Okay, so during the constant rate period, what is happening there is evaporation of those free water on the surface of your food product. So whatever available free water that is in your food product situated in the surface, those free water will be the ones that will be evaporated first because of your heat transfer from your surrounding to the food product. So that is the constant rate period. So again, there is a constant removal of your free water due to evaporation. Then the second stage of drying is your falling rate period. So as the drying proceeds, the moisture content falls, okay, due to the removal of water, and the access of water from the interior of the food to the surface decreases the drying rate. Okay, so again, in the first stage, you basically remove the free water that is on the surface of the food, and as the drying process is continued or proceeds, the moisture content basically falls, and thus the access of water from the interior of the food, those that are bound in your food product, will basically move to higher level, in which those water that are bound, for example, in your protein, fats, and salt of your fruit and vegetables, they will move to the surface for them to be evaporated simultaneously. Okay, so we have here the sequence of water removal. Again, the first the first type of water that is removed during your drying process is the free water that is situated on the surface of the commodity. So this occurs at constant temperature as well as constant drying rate. Okay, so after the free water on the surface is removed, the next stage is the diffusion of the free water from the solid matrix towards the surface. So those free water that are present in your solid matrix, or those that are together with your bound water, basically they will move towards the surface. Okay, so this again occurs at constant drying temperature as well as constant drying rate. Okay, so after removal of all your free waters, those that are in the surface as well as the free water that are bound in your solid food product, what is next removed is the water that are loosely bound in your fruit and vegetables. So those that are bound again, for example, in your protein and your fat, those water will be removed. Okay, be removed as they travel towards the surface of the food product. So this happens when the drying rate starts to slow down. Okay, so further addition of heat does not remove further addition of heat does not remove water, and the drying rate decreases. So again, the first sequence of water removal basically starts with the removal of your free water that is situated on the surface, and what comes next is those free water that are inside of the solid matrix of your food will be diffused to move to the next to move to the surface. Okay, and once all free water will be completely evaporated in your food product, what will be removed next is the bound water. So those type of water that are bound to your bigger molecules will be removed, and further addition of heat will not further remove the water, because again all the bound water as well as the free water are already removed at your constant during your constant temperature and drying rate. Okay, so those are the different sequence of water removal when you dry your fruits and vegetables. So we have here a drying curve. Okay, so what is a drying curve? Basically, it only shows you a plot of your moisture content, the level of moisture content, which is situated in the y-axis, okay, of the plot, and versus the time at constant temperature. So again, when you increase the drying time, basically you also decrease the level of moisture content in your food product. Why the moisture content is decreased? Because of, again, the removal of your free and bound water. So during preheating period, basically you have moist or wet food product, and thus your moisture content is high. Okay, so during constant drying period, again, when you have constant temperature as well as constant drying rate, basically the level of moisture content in your commodity will slowly decrease. Okay, then we have here the next stage, which is further drying time will succeedingly reduce the moisture content of your food product. So this is the drying curve, which just show to you the plot of your moisture content versus your drying cycle time. So we also have here the drying rate curve. So it is a plot of the drying rate. So we have here the drying rate in the x-axis, okay, and versus the drying time, okay. So again, when you increase the drying time, so the drying rate can also have 3 stages. We have here your constant drying rate time on the beginning or the first phase of your drying time. So the drying rate is constant, okay, again because you are drying your food in using in a constant temperature. So we have here your constant rate and then your first falling rate, okay. So after when the free water are removed, okay, so what comes next is your bound water. So when you extend the drying time, okay, increasing the drying time will also increase the drying rate, because again you have actually removed half of the water, okay, half of the water in your fruit and vegetable. Then the last stage is your second falling rate, in which when the free water and bound water are completely removed, further extension will basically slow down the drying rate, okay. Then we also have here another plot, okay. So again, for the higher increasing the drying time, okay, will basically reduce the moisture or the water content of your food product. So we have here again the drying rate curve, okay, on the x-axis, as well as the moisture content. So as we increase the drying rate, okay, as we increase the drying rate, okay, as we increase the drying rate, okay, basically the moisture content also decreases. So this is relatively in opposite of the first plot that I had showed you, okay. Again, so we have here your free moisture, okay. Basically, the higher the moisture content, the higher also the drying rate, okay. So that is for the drying rate curve. So after the discussion on the different pre-treatment methods as well as the drying rate curve, now we will discuss the different post-drying operations. So the first post-operation method we have here is your conditioning or sweating. So what is this method all about? So it basically involves placing the newly dried food in a closed chamber or in a closed container, and allowing the dried fruit to stay there for varying periods, okay, so that the moisture equilibrium within and between the food pieces can occur. So during your conditioning and sweating, basically you just place the food material, the newly dried food, in a closed chamber for the moisture to equilibrate, okay, for the moisture between the food, okay, to equilibrate, okay. And if you observe presence of droplets on the sides, or the lid of your container, basically it means that the food or the material is not dried enough. So when this happens, redrying must be conducted, okay? So the presence of droplets again is an indication that the food product that you dried is not yet sufficiently dried enough, okay? So that is for your conditioning and sweating process. So what we also have here, another post-operation process, uh, that is pasteurization. So pasteurization of your dried commodities is only limited to your dried fruits. So basically, during pasteurization, it eliminates contamination from your insects, especially if the food was dried outdoors. Okay, so when you dry your food products following sun drying, in which you basically dry the food products outdoors, you don't have any control in the surrounding condition of your dried product. Basically contamination can happen, such as for example, insects, ants, and other pests can contaminate in your dried product. So you need to pasteurize them, pasteurize the food products to eliminate the different insects. So why is this only limited to your dried fruits? Because your dried fruits has higher sugar content in comparison to your vegetable products. So basically, dried fruits are more prone to your insect contamination because they like sweet food product. Okay, so when you pasteurize a food material, you will place the newly dried commodity in an oven that is set to 80 degrees Celsius in a single layer. So you re-dry again your commodity at 80 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes, okay, before you pack the food product, before you cool and pack your food product. So that is the two different post-operation that you need to do after your drying process. So after re-drying or pasteurization, you need to pack and store the dried food products. So you can store your dried fruit or vegetable in a sealed glass jars or in a sealed glass container. So before storing your dried food products in a sealed container or sealed glass, basically your sealed glass must be clean, it must be sanitized, okay, before you place your dried food products. Okay, so you can also store the fruits and vegetables in PE plastic bags, polyethylene plastic bags, or metal cans to prevent moisture uptake in the air, okay, from re-entering the food, as well as you protect the food product against crushing, okay. So packing and storing your dried fruits will help your product to last longer in in your storage condition. So again, when you pack the food, the material or your final product can be kept dry and stored at room temperature. So only at room temperature, basically a maximum of 28 degrees Celsius. So when you store the dried fruits at room temperature, you still need to check the product for any mold growth. Okay? So we have here the different factors affecting the drying rate. So the first factor is humidity. Then we have your surface area. Yes, I have mentioned about surface area. Then another factor is your temperature, air velocity, ventilation or moist air outlet of your equipment, and the atmospheric pressure and vacuum of your surrounding environment. So these factors again will affect or affects the drying rate of your fruits and vegetables during the drying process or dehydration process. So the first factor we have here is humidity. Okay. So why is it important factor? Because the drier the air, the more rapid is the rate of drying. So the more humid, basically the more humid at a higher temperature, that means that the air is basically dry. So when you have humid environment, when the condition of your equipment is dry, meaning there can be a rapid drying rate. Okay, so the greater the humidity gradient between the air and the food, the faster the drying process. So what is the equipment used to measure the relative humidity of your equipment is your hygrometer. Okay, so hygrometer is an equipment used to measure the humidity of your equipment, in which it is a set of wet bulb and dry bulb thermometers. So these bulbs are used to check the humidity in the drying chamber. Okay, again, humidity is affects the drying rate because the more humid, the drier the air, the more rapid is the drying rate of your fruits and vegetable. So another factor we have here is the surface area. Again, surface area is related to how much of that the surface of the object occupies. So again, when you slice the food products into smaller pieces, basically you increase the surface area of the food product as well. So the greater the surface area, the higher the drying rate. So smaller pieces produces a larger surface area in contact with the heating medium and more surface to escape. So when you increase the surface area of your dried product, it also shortens the distance from both heat transfer and water removal. So basically, when you have higher or increased area, meaning the surface of the product which your heat and mass transfer occurs, basically the distance will be much more smaller, thus the drying rate also increases. So another factor here, we have temperature. Yes, temperature is very important, and it has the greater the difference between the food and the heating medium, the faster will be the transfer of heat to the food. So this will provides higher driving force for moisture removal. Okay. So the hotter the surrounding air, the more moisture it can hold before getting saturated. So temperature will affect losses in color and nutrients, especially when you dry the products at higher temperature. So you expect there will be loss in color as well as loss in nutrients. Okay. So some food materials have components such as your vitamin A and C that are easily destroyed at higher drying temperature. So that is why it is best to dry the food product the shortest time as possible when they are exposed at specific temperature. When they are exposed at higher temperature, basically you need to decrease the drying time for you to be able to minimize again the losses in your food and vegetable. So another factor which affects the drying rate, we have here the air velocity. So air velocity describes the speed, okay? The speed at which air is moving over a food material and is measured in meters per second, okay? So that is your air velocity that is present in your equipment. Again, it relates to the speed of the air which moves around or passes in your food material. So moving air picks up moisture-laden air from the drying food surface, preventing the saturation of the surrounding air with the moisture from the food. So another important factor we have here is the ventilation or moist air outlet. So every equipment has ventilation wherein it is an important in the dryer, okay? The dryer, because the moisture or the air, moisture-laden air will be removed from the drying chamber before it becomes saturated. So again, when it becomes saturated, meaning it will basically affects the drying rate, okay? So that is why it is important to have your ventilation or the outlet of the air before your food products become super saturated. So when they become super saturated, basically it will affect the quality of your food product. So that is why the air circulation during drying, there must be proper air circulation as well as proper ventilation for the prevention to prevent super saturation of the quality of air in your drying chamber. So we also have here another factor is the atmospheric pressure and vacuum. So pressure, okay, is very important during drying process because as the drying rate constant increases, the drying rate constant increased as the pressure treatment of the sample is increased. So when you increase the drying rate, basically, when you increase the drying rate as well as you increase the pressure in your sample, you basically, it will basically result in a lesser drying time for the sample. So that is why increased pressure during the drying process is important because it will contribute to lesser drying time. So when there is basically low pressure, thus you expect that the drying rate will be also decrease, okay? Again, when you increase the pressure within the drying chamber, it will basically increase the drying rate and thus will result to lesser drying time, okay? So that is that principle is basically what is involved in your vacuum drying process, okay? So in vacuum drying process, water in a heated vacuum chamber will lose moisture at lower temperature, and thus this process, the vacuum drying, will have higher or faster rate than it would in a chamber at atmospheric pressure. Okay, again, when the food product is vacuum dried, so basically you apply vacuum in which you remove the air present of air at lower temperature, then um, your heat sensitive products will basically be more um, will have good quality because they are dried at low temperature. So those are the different factors which contributes to the drying process of your fruits and vegetables. So now we will discuss the different methods to control temperature and circulation in your drying chamber. So again, dehydration is a process. It is synthetic process, but it's only safe if you carefully handle the or you carefully dehydrate the food products using the right settings in your drying chamber. Okay, so during dehydration process, the air temperature as well as the circulation within your drying chamber, it must be monitored. Okay, it must be monitored to avoid any bacterial growth as well as spoilage. So case hardening is where moisture can support bacterial growth. Okay, bacterial growth wherein it is where the cells outside the food give up moisture faster than the cells inside the food material. So again, during case hardening, so there is hard outer layer, but the moisture inside is trapped. Okay, so this happens when the temperature of the drying chamber is too high or too fast. The drying rate is too fast. So again, case hardening can happen when the temperature is too high as well as the drying rate is too fast, because the free water in your surface are first removed, but since the outside temperature is too high, basically the free water were the first one to be removed, and you trap the moisture inside. So basically, since your drying time is also lower, thus you did not completely remove both the free water as well as the bound water inside your food product. That is why there is case hardening, or case hardening can happen when temperature is high as well as the drying rate or drying time is too short. So during dehydration, the temperatures must not be aren't high enough to kill the bacteria, but they must be high enough to remove the moisture from the food. So what is the function of your temperature here is not to remove remove or kill the bacteria, but basically the temperature functions as functions to remove the moisture or reduce the moisture from the food material. So when the temperature is high enough, again, you will expect that the food material will have case hardening. Okay? So most bacteria, they don't usually grow at moisture levels under 16 degrees Celsius. So below 16 degrees Celsius, most of your bacteria don't grow here because again, bacteria, they grow best when there is high available when there is high available free water for their growth. Okay, so the rapid the air movement, the faster moisture is removed away. Okay, so when there is humid, the drier the air, the faster the air, the faster the dry moisture removal. So during dehydration, it is important again that the drying temperature must not be high enough when you are targeting a dehydrated product, because basically it can affect the texture of your food product as well as the quality of your food product. So at high temperature and at faster drying time, so basically what will happen there is that your surface will be hard or thickened, and there will be expected browning in the surface of your commodity, because again, the bound water and the free water inside your food matrix were not totally removed. So the inside texture of your food product is still high. Okay, so expect that when case hardening happens, basically the microorganisms will really proliferate in your food products, because again, you did not completely dry the food material.